from here in Taiwan and around the world. A team of sign language instructors has opened a summer camp for children. Here they learn both how to protect themselves and how to appreciate deaf culture. Zhang Ventrist has this story.
突然发现，原来哥哥摸他的这件事啊，其实是违法的。
This summer, sign language instructor and women's rights activist Zheng Xinyi has thrown herself into a special project. She's brought together 26 hearing children and 4 deaf or hearing impaired children together for a sign language summer camp with a purpose. Over 3 days, the children learn important life lessons through stories, both narrated aloud and interpreted into sign language. In this case, a story based on Ms. Zheng's own story of sexual assault. The lesson is how children can protect themselves.
要保护自己，提防坏人，可以去找警察，还有老师。
做你不喜欢的事情要勇敢大声说不，然后不要去害怕说会有人责备你之类的，然后相信他会受到法律的制裁。
The camp's founder says lessons like this are especially important for students who are either deaf or have limited hearing.
所以如果他们可以都知道这样的事情的话，我觉得是有帮助的。再加上聋孩子他们接受资讯的是薄弱的，所以我其实希望更多的聋人来参加。
But this is just one of the lessons this camp hopes to teach its young participants. One of the most important things teachers hope kids will walk away with is an appreciation of sign language and deaf culture in general. Joseph Wu and John Van Trieste for TaiwanPlus.
People living in cities in northern Taiwan may be experiencing hotter summers than people in other areas. As city planners were to curb the north's expanding heat islands, the government is also going after employers who don't offer their workers proper shelter on especially hot days. Wesley Lewis reports.
Summers in Taipei are getting hotter. That's what urban development experts say. They've identified heat islands, areas that experience higher temperatures, in northern Taiwan's densely populated cities, and they say they are expanding.
台北、新北跟桃园的这个热岛已经透过2个盆地还有大汉溪的这个河谷已经连接在一起，要透过跨区域、跨城市的这个治理共同去解决高温化的问题。
Officials from the Environment, Health, and Labor Ministries held a joint seminar to address the rising temperatures. The Environment Ministry says temperatures in Taipei may increase by another 0.5 degrees to 2 degrees Celsius in the next 20 years, which they say could pose a threat to public health.
世界卫生组织的资料，它从2000年初2000到2004的有关高温相关的死亡的话，我们最近2017到2020年的增加了85%，其实对我们的冲击是非常非常大的。
The Labor Ministry says they'll fine employers more than $9,000 if they fail to provide workers with shelter when the heat index hits the highest level. The Taipei city government has also invested in infrastructure projects to provide residents with more shade and ventilation.
基地里面的水率的降温，还有我们基地里面建筑物的节能减碳，整体的都市的绿色基盘。
As human activity exacerbates the effects of climate change, Taiwan's government says it's pushing for more green energy. But think tank Ember says over 80% of Taiwan's energy still comes from fossil fuels, despite the country's 2050 net zero emission goal. For now, as summer temperatures in and around Taipei continue to rise, residents are advised to stay hydrated and avoid prolonged exposure to the sun on hot days. Klein Wong and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
In 1960, one of Taiwan's most renowned athletes won his country its first Olympic medal at the Games in Rome. Decathlete CK Yang faced off with training partner, friend, and competitor Rafer Johnson from the U.S. in a historic showdown. Audiences around the world were glued to the screen as the two sports legends battled for the decathlon gold. Wesley Lewis has the story.
A historic battle for Olympic glory. Taiwan's Yang Chuanguang, or CK Yang, known globally as the Iron Man of Asia, versus Rafer Johnson from the United States. The two athletes reached their biggest milestone in the 1960 Rome Summer Olympic decathlon event. Both shouldered the weight of not only representing their countries, but also their respective communities. Yang, an indigenous Amis, and Johnson, an African American. They first met 4 years earlier at the 1956 Melbourne Olympics.
He was my hero before, my idol. When the first time I saw him in Melbourne, boy, he was a giant then. And I was so skinny guy.
In the lead up to the 1960 Olympics, Taiwan's government sent Young to the U.S. to train with Johnson at UCLA. There, they developed a competitive bond.
I was lucky that I went to UCLA, practiced with Rafer, and we became friends.
The pair trained for 2 years together, finally facing off in Rome. As decathlon athletes, they had to train in 10 different track and field events.
Decathlon basically determined the greatest athlete in the world. 10 events, you compete at the highest level against athletes from all around the world. And if you come out on top of those events, you are widely considered to be the best athlete in the world.
In total, Yang won 7 of the 10 events, but Johnson still came out on top, pulling ahead with big leads in events like shot put and discus. In the last event, the 1,500-meter race, both Young and Johnson gave everything they had. Afterward, the two came together in an athlete's embrace, a moment captured in one of the most iconic photos in sports history.
We walked together for a while, leaning on each other physically the way we had leaned on each other emotionally for the past 2 years. So great was my respect and admiration for him. I just wanted to be next to him at that moment.
They would remain close friends for the rest of their lives, calling themselves the two-man United Nations. When Yang was diagnosed with liver cancer, Johnson was there by his side. And at Yang's funeral in 2007, Johnson delivered a eulogy to his companion.
He had a heart bigger than any athlete I've ever known. A great champion and a great man.
In the end, these two legendary athletes and the connection they made exemplified the capacity of sports to create deep, lifelong bonds across countries and cultures. Kama Shu and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Japan already has one of the oldest populations in the world, and as life expectancy continues to rise and the country's birth rate falls, businesses are looking at how they can capitalize on this demographic shift. Wesley Lewis has this story as well.
Diaper makers in Japan have a growing customer base, adults. As the country's birth rate plummets to record lows and society ages, the industry has turned its focus away from babies and has set its sights on catering to senior citizens.
日本では大人用の紙おむつの市場が大きくなってまして、おかげさまで私たちが作っている紙おむつを作る量も年々増えていっています。また、使うお客さん、ユーザーさんが増えてきた背景もありまして、いろんな種類の紙おむつを作るようになっています。
Surveys conducted by diaper manufacturers show that their adult customers like how their products are being marketed to them.
調査をしたことがあるんですね。その時に皆さんすごいびっくりされてたんですよ。うわって言って、これだったら買おうと思うと、これだったら買って家に持って帰る時も恥ずかしくない。このパンツを履いてだったらいつもの趣味の釣りに行けるよとか、ゴルフに行けるよとか。これを履いて銀座のショッピングにも行けるよ。
In 2023, around 29% of Japan's population was over the age of 65. Industry insiders say revenue from adult diapers is now nearly double that of baby diapers, and demand is only expected to grow.
大人用のおむつっていう市場に関しましては、まだ今後も市場拡大が期待できますので、そこに対してのその社内の資源配分、いろんな資源ありますけど、こういうものをもう少し拡大していこうというような戦略で考えております。
Similarly, Taiwan is also inching towards becoming a super-aged society by 2025, when more than a fifth of the population will be 65 and older. And as Japan's demographic shift continues to change the country's diaper business, manufacturers in Taiwan can expect to follow suit. Kama Shu and Wesley Lewis for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. You can visit the TaiwanPlus website and follow our social media for more stories from Taiwan and around the world. Finally, check out the Appian Way, ancient Rome's first highway, and the latest addition to the UN's Cultural Heritage List. I'm Ethan Liu. Take care, and I'll see you next time.